think this week ang inyong midterm eh. Nag-start na, okay. We will have our, kailan ba? Kasi, pwede din naman tayong mag-exam next week. But, dalawang topics lang ang ma-discuss natin. We have, na lang kasi, to finish our lesson plan or ating course syllabus, yung syllabus natin, meron na lang tayong 5 topics. And yung 5 topics na yan, nahatiin ko pa yan into 2 terms. So, if mag-discuss pa tayo ng isang lesson for next week, ang mangyari niyan, dalawa-dalawa na lang ang maiwan. Tigda-dalawa na lang ang maiwan sa what do you call this one, sa pre-finals and sa finals. So, let's see na lang, ha? If hindi tayo maka-exam next week, we will have our exam sa April 4, okay? April 4 ang exam natin. That would be Monday. Tama ba? Monday. I will also be conducting another quiz for you next week so that makompleto natin yung dalawang quiz kasi we only have one quiz for you this term kasi, yung quiz niya last week. Yun pa lang yung ating quiz. So, I am going to give you another quiz next week. The coverage would be this one. Napasa ko na yung about sa quantitative and qualitative research na PowerPoint. Parang napasa ko na ata. Okay. Yung hindi ko na lang napasa is ito, to which I am going to send it to you later after our class. Just remind me if ever dili pa ko makasend sa inyo, ha? Tomorrow kay malimtan ako siya. So, kindly chat me lang doon sa ating GC para ma-send ko siya right away. In case na makalimutan ko na naman after our class. Okay? So, again, let's have our exam na lang. Final na ni siya. Let's have our exam na lang on April 4. That would be our midterm examination on April 4. Okay? Sa ating oras na lang din yan. That would be 5:30 p.m. Or if you want earlier, just tell me so that I can set it earlier kung gusto niyo earlier. Okay? So, ano may schedule kano sa inyong pre-final exam?
Na.
When, or inyuhang na lang, last day for the semester, for second semester? Kano sa mag-end? Any idea? Or when is your final exam na lang? Usually, kano sa siya mag-end?
May 10, ma'am.
May 10 ang last week sa inyong semester. Tama?
Oh, ma'am, kay gi-post man to sa page, ma'am.
Okay, week ng May 10. So that would be May 10 is Tuesday man. May 10 jud ang pinaka-last. Tama ba? Okay, so tama lang.
Right, ma'am. May 23 di ay, ma'am.
Okay, so expected na ato ang last meeting would be May 23 na week. So that would be May 23 to 27 inyong exam week. Tama? Or May 23 ang pinaka-last day jud sa inyong exam?
May 23 to 28 ang examination
Exam.
week, ma'am.
Okay. So, kaya ra. Actually, sobra-sobra pa gani ang ato ang meeting. Okay, so ato na lang dyan yung hinay-hinayon og discuss ang mga bagay-bagay kay para mahati ra nato. Kasi pag tanaw na ko sa syllabus ganiha, I only have 5 lectures. Tapos ako, hala, mao pala mag-midterm pa minya, mag-pre-finals. Wala na ko i-discuss kung doon ako. Kuan man gud siya kanang ang syllabus man gud is not for an hour nga nga lesson. That is why gamay lang pod ang syllabus kasi ang per topic dapat should be 2 to 3 hours. Pero man gud 1 hour lang ang ato ang discussion. That is why what I am discussing to you is katong unsa lang jud ang dapat i-discuss. So I cannot tell you na mga segue pa. Katong inyong reporting sa quantitative and qualitative research, that should be 3 weeks na to gi-discuss. But again, because we are only having an hour and then we are running out of time na din. That is why ang ginawa natin is 2 weeks lang siya. 2 weeks lang ang gi-allot ko. 2 weeks ba? Oo. 2 weeks. Okay. 3 weeks pa rin pala kasi I have given you one meeting to yung sa activity nyo to prepare for your um, PowerPoints. Okay, so ganun kasi ang nasa syllabus kasi natin yun is for you to report a journal about quantitative and quantitative or qualitative research for you to identify what's the difference of both. Yun lang naman yung importante doon. Dapat ma-differentiate nyo what's the difference between qualitative and quantitative research and for you um, to give examples of these researches so that alam nyo paano mag-extract ng introduction, ng methodology, ng conclusion, ng recommendation from the journal article that you have read. Okay, ganun yun siya. And I think hindi na yan bago sa inyo because you had your research naman. Okay, so again, let us have our exam on April 4. Okay? Is that clear? Okay, clear.
Yes,
Okay, thank you. So let's proceed with the theories of behavior and behavior change. So we are going to discuss the I just followed in the syllabus. We are going to discuss the TPB or the planned a theory of planned behavior, and then we are also going to discuss the beliefs, the health belief model or the HBM. And then dinagdag ko na lang din yun kahit wala siya sa syllabus, dinagdag ko na lang din yung steps on I forgot steps on sa management sa change behavior. So stages, not steps, stages of change behavior. So 5 lang naman yun siya. So I hope we can finish. If dili na to siya mahuman karon, we can discuss it next meeting. Okay? So let's start with the theory of planned behavior. Nagkaroon na ba kayo ng have you had your psychology na subject before? May psych ba kayo na subject? Wala. Sociology, wala din. Okay. Kasi this will, ito kasi siya na topic is, ito yung combination ng, kung hindi siya sa psychology nyo, sa sociology nyo siya na subject ma-discuss. Kasi sa back in our curriculum, our psychology is separated from sociology. So that is why we have a good background sa aming sociology and psychology kasi it's a different subject and it is taught in different year level. Our psychology was taught first year kami and then sociology was taught fourth year. So I think that is why we have a social pharmacy, a social administrative pharmacy for you to have the combination of both psychology and sociology. Kasi I don't know if meron siya sa curriculum nyo. Kasi noon kami, back in our days, wala kaming social administrative pharmacy. We only have administrative pharmacy, pharmacy administration 1 and 2, but we don't have a social pharmacy, social administrative pharmacy. I think this was the reason, this is the reason why wala kayong psychology and sociology na sa inyong curriculum because you already have this one, a social administrative pharmacy. Kasi I can see naman that the topics are just related to our psychology and sociology back in the days, in our days. What's good here lang sa social administrative pharmacy is that it's specific to our profession. Okay, but again, the lessons are just the same. So for the theory of planned behavior, it is considered as one of the most widely cited and applied behavior theories. So lahat ito siya class natin i-discuss ngayon are theories. Okay, so it's the theories of different people back in the past, which evolved over time. Okay, so see, theory of planned behavior class is one of a closely interrelated family of theories which adopt a cognitive approach. Okay, naka-adapt siya ng cognitive approach para ma-explain yung behavior ng isang tao which centers on individuals' attitudes and beliefs. Okay, kasi ito naman talaga yung key factors on our cognitive health or on our cognitive behavior. One is our attitude, and second are our beliefs. Okay? So, this TPB, yung TPB, it was evolved from the theory of reasoned action. Okay? Theory of reasoned action, which posited intention to act as the best predictor of behavior. Okay, so again, this theory evolved from the theory of reasoned action, which posited intention to act as the best predictor of behavior. So when we say intention is itself an outcome of the combination of attitudes towards a behavior. Okay, so that's intention. Okay, so the outcome of the combination of attitudes towards a behavior. Okay, so when we say intention, we actually have different stages or different components. Okay, so meron tayong different components niyan. Number one is your positive or negative evaluation of the behavior. And of course, its expected outcomes. Okay, yan siya. So, yung positive and negative evaluation natin and yung expected outcomes, they are considered as yung attitude toward the behavior. Okay, so the attitude toward the behavior. Okay, so another component is our subjective norms. Okay, subjective norms. Ano ba yung subjective norms, class? Okay, so when we say subjective norms, these are social pressure. Okay, yan yung tandaan nyo, social pressures. Okay, social pressures exerted on an individual. Okay, so ito yung pressure na nasa ating self. Okay, so ito yung pressure na ating nafe-feel within ourself that results from our own perception of what others think of us. So, ganun yun siya. Again, subjective norms. Subjective norms. So, when we say subjective kasi, ano yung opinion natin? Ano yung nafe-feel natin? Okay, so subjective norms, again, subjective norms are those social pressures exerted on an individual resulting from their perceptions of what others think they should do and their inclination to comply with this. So that is the subjective norm. Okay, so yung pressure na binibigay sa atin ng society, tapos yung pressure na yun, pressure na yun yung ating na-perceive na ay dapat ito yung gawin natin, ito yung gawin ko. Ito dapat yung gawin ko kasi yun yung social pressure. Okay, yun yung pressure na nafe-feel mo from the society. Okay? And that because you had that social pressure na perceive mo na yun na ito dapat ang gawin ko kasi kung hindi ko to magawa, ano na lang sasabihin ng mga tao. Okay? So you had the inclination to comply with those pressure and you call that subjective norms. Okay? So that's subjective norms. Your own perception yan, class. Your own perception yan. Bakit ka mayroong ganong perception? Because of the social pressure exerted on you. Okay? So again, that's subjective, your own opinion and that or perception. And that perception will differ from one person to another. Again, kasi subjective norm. Depende yan kung sino ka, kung ano yung nape-perceive mo. Okay? Actually, si perceived behavioral control, added factors lang to siya. Okay, so the TPB added a third set of factors that affects intention. Okay, so number one, we have positive and negative evaluation. And then number two, we have subjective norms. And then the TPB, the theory of planned behavior, it added another factor that affects the theory of that intention, which is the perceived behavioral control. So, that would sum up na meron tayong tatlong factors that affects intention and behavior. Okay? So, we have the perceived behavioral control. So, this means that the perceived ease or difficulty with which the individual will be able to perform or carry out the behavior is very similar to notions of self-efficacy. Okay, so again, when we say perceived or behavioral control, this is the perceived ease. Okay, this is the perceived ease or difficulty with which the individual will be able to perform or carry out the behavior. Okay, so kung yung perceived behavioral control, yan yung perception ng isang tao kung madali lang ba or mahirap i-perform yung isang behavior. Okay? So again, the perceived ease or difficulty with which the individual will be able to perform or carry out the behavior and is very similar to notions of self-efficacy. Okay, that's the perceived behavioral control. Okay, so itong key components is actually illustrated in this um, diagram. Okay, so I got this from the internet. So I got this from the internet from the theory of planned behavior itself. So ito yung ginawang parang summary doon sa factors affecting intention and then ano yung kinalalabasan niya. Okay, so yung masasabi lang dito sa diagram na makikita nyo. So, yung evaluation about behavior outcomes and evaluation of expected outcomes, it affects the attitudes towards behavior. Okay? So, it again affects the attitudes towards behavior. Okay? And then the normative beliefs and the motivation to comply. Comply naman affects the subjective norms, and then the beliefs about capability and control affects the perceived behavioral control. And then all of these attitudes towards behavior, subjective norms, and perceived behavioral control affects each other or affects that intention of the individual to act. Okay. Because it affect the intention of an individual to act, it results the behavior of an individual as a whole. Okay, so basically class, itong lahat ng to, ito yung mga different factors that affects the behavior of an individual. Okay? So, gi-summarize lang siya. Okay? So, that's all for, actually, meron pa pala, tama. Okay, so ano na lang yung use ni theory of planned behavior. But again, this is the summary. Okay? So, we can say, class, that the theory of planned behavior is suited to predicting behavior and retrospective analysis of behavior, and also has been particularly widely used in relation to health. Okay, so evidence suggests, class, that the TPB can predict 20 to 30% of the variance in behavior brought about via interventions and a greater proportion of intention. Okay, but strong correlations are reported between behavior and both the attitude towards the behavior and perceived behavioral control components of the theory. Okay, up to this day, class, up to this day, only weak correlations have been established between behavior and subjective norms. Okay, so again, weak correlation lang siya. Kasi ito, class, ito mga ebidensya na nagpapakita na 20 to 30% lang daw ang variance ng behavior versus the interventions. Itong mga ebidensya na to, it is only sa study. Okay? According to different studies lang yan. Okay, so again, this is just a correlation between the behavior and the intention. Okay, so again, up to this now, weak correlations have been established between behavior and subjective norms. Unlike the behavior and the attitude towards the behavior, they have strong correlations according to studies. But ngayon, if we are going to correlate behavior and subjective norms, they have weak correlations. Okay? Again, behavior and subjective norms, they have weak correlation. Unlike kay behavior and attitude towards the behavior and perceived behavioral control, they have strong correlations with each other. Okay? Again, this is based on different studies. Okay? So, basically class, TPB suggests most likely to be methodological